Hello. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. Please welcome Jordan Legg to the podcast today. Jordan is founder of his company, Takara.ai, and really excited to have you on the podcast. So thank you for joining us. Please, could you introduce yourself, first of all, explain a bit about yourself and also where you are at the moment?
Sure. I'm in Greece doing a working holiday, and I've got sort of 5, 6 years experience in machine learning and AI, and I'm running this company now as a Takarai.ai, and we focus on building small and large AI machine learning applications, and also steering the strategy of AI for a lot of our clients because it's a very new industry. We know this; not many people know about it, so we handle all that for them. This is my second business. My first one was in social media data for sales and marketing clients, and we would try and deliver really good value from social media data for B2B businesses, which didn't exist at the time. So that's where my experience comes from in technology.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that sounds great. Quite an entrepreneur with what you're doing there. So, how is it that you use AI just to get an idea of the kind of projects perhaps that you're working on and your use of AI?
Yeah, sure. So, internally we use the tools that you might be familiar with, Claude, ChatGPT, but in our work we use even the open source models. So, Mixtral, Llama, um, we've got Databricks, we've got Command-R from Cohere. So all these ones that are more open source, more enterprise grade models that we use as well to generate chatbots, AI search engines, co-pilots for employees, really custom use cases that you can't design or build on some of the wider consumer level products. So we do that for, very large and also small business as well.
Okay, amazing. No, that's great. Thank you. And it'd be interesting to get your perspective on perhaps how best to use AI, because there are different methods
Yeah.
that you can use and different tools and things. But how would you say is the best way to make the most of it? What's your advice there?
I think the best thing you can do to make the most of the models is to be a good prompt engineer. There's this new term, prompt engineering, that's come up, and we have some really great guides for free on our website that you can check out. And it really helps you to understand how these models think. They're designed on the human brain, they're a neural network. And so, in a similar way that you can prompt people to do things for you, you can prompt AI to do things for you. So that's, a chain of thought, that's instruction, that's 0, 1, 2 shot learning methods. All these things can really help you maximize the value that you get out of these models, as well as choosing what to use it on and not. That's really more an it depends thing. Look at where you've got bottlenecks, look at where you can make productivity gains, and that should be your first stop.
Productivity gains, efficiency, all that kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
definitely.
prompt engineering. Yeah, no, that's excellent. Thank you. And what would you say is like the latest sort of news? Because obviously AI is an ever changing technology at the moment. It's what would you say is like the latest that you've heard in terms of what it's able to do?
So, in terms of the latest in terms of functionality, I think it's this thing around multimodal. So, you have singular modal models which only function in one way. You might have generating images, you might have generating text, you might have it studying images and then describing them. So, multimodal is the aspect of having all these things in one. So, OpenAI GPT-4 is a multimodal model with DALI. So, you can talk to GPT-4 and it has the full context, and then it can make images, and in the same way, you can send images to it and it can describe them, and then you can continue on your conversation there. And we're starting to see this become more of a thing. Gemini is branching into audio now. You can send videos into it to do auto transcripting. You can send audio in there to do transcripting. You can send video in there to study what actually happens in the video in the full context and have conversations about that. And that is massively valuable to so many industries, as well as some of the latest news that I've heard literally yesterday. Meta just released Llama 3, which is a brand new model. It's blown all the other open source models away. So they've got, I think, 3 versions. They're working on a 400 billion parameter one massive model, 70 and an 8B version. And that literally dropped yesterday. I've not managed to get my hands on it, but as soon as it drops
Yeah,
on Llama, I'm going to give it a try, and
that's
I'll
pretty
bounce about it.
exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, you know,
what it can
this
do. I can
industry.
hear that.
Exactly. This industry moves so quickly. Last week we had 3 other models drop. We had Mixtral 8x22B, which is another massive open source model. We had ChatGPT 4 had an update to GPT-4 Vision preview, whatever the number was. So
Amazing. You
it's
really are
moving.
keeping up to date with it all as well, because you're on the pulse, you're on the forefront
Of
of
course, yeah, and that's what our
what's
clients pay us
happening.
for. Is yeah, of course, our clients pay us to be on the money, so that when they ask us, hey, we have this problem, because we're all outcomes based, right? We have this issue,
Mm.
and we just happen to solve everybody's issues, with AI, and it's important for us to go, okay, this brand new thing came out, we've tested it, it works well, we think it's going to work well for your use case, or not, right?
No, that's it. Great. And I can hear you're very passionate about that sort of imagery and video side to it, and the huge potential there, especially when it comes to like
Yeah,
social media, in terms
yeah,
of what it can do as well in 3D environments. So
oh yeah.
yeah. And we talked about computer vision models. So could you explain
Yes.
about how that might work with perhaps video imagery, that kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah, so computer vision is one of the things that I think has the most scope to grow, because the
Mm.
models are very large, they're very expensive to train, and they're not as good as some of the large language models like ChatGPT 4, Claude 3, and even Meta 3 now. So I think computer vision has a long way to go. It can't really
Yeah.
generate videos in a very good way. The images it does generate are not very high resolution, and still they don't come out quite the way you might want them to do without a lot of prompt engineering. And so there's a lot of innovation, I think, to happen here. And once you
Mm.
get past that, you start to open up all kinds of opportunities, like YouTube videos just from text. Photography companies can edit pictures just with AI, right? So there's this whole thing around generative fill, not even just generating the whole image, but like highlighting a part of the image and filling that in with generative AI. You can do that now on Adobe, but you'll be able to do that in even greater depths in the future. And
Mm.
that excites me a lot, because
No, yeah.
it's got so much, so much road to go.
That predictive AI like really fascinates me as well, where perhaps you're looking at perhaps like a built environment or something before it's built, where a design
Yeah,
can become 3D, and then you might see the use of like the video headset, so you can actually like design something and then walk into what you've
yeah,
created.
yeah.
That's
It's
quite.
it's it's
Mm.
it's really cool. I think the better these models get, the more use cases come out of the woodwork, and it's just so exciting, for us, because we might build a piece of technology now, and later on we build something even better with better models.
Yeah, it's ever changing. Yeah, okay, that's great. And as an entrepreneur yourself, is there anything that you could share, perhaps, as to your secrets to your success, and why you believe you've done well in what you're doing here, as an entrepreneur? What's your secrets to your success?
um I wouldn't say there's any specific secrets. Definitely don't fall into the trap of the engineer problem, which is building a solution that has no problem. I think there's a
Mm.
lot of people that do, oh, I've made this thing, and they haven't quite worked out if anyone actually needs that thing that they've built. So always go into it solving a problem that people are willing to pay for, as well as just don't give up, basically, ever. I
Yeah,
mean, when I was running
good
IA, it
one.
was like,
Yeah.
people don't understand it, like they haven't been entrepreneurs or something like that, and it's a lot of it is just like full commitment, believing what you're going to do, working 10 to hour days, in the early stages, and wearing a lot of hats. And if you're willing to do that, then 9 times out of 10 you're going to be successful, because everybody else isn't really willing to do that. They're not willing to put that amount of work in. So
Totally. Yeah.
yeah,
Totally. Yeah. No, that's
I don't,
fantastic. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, no worries.
Brilliant. And any disasters perhaps that you've had? So when it comes to perhaps overcoming any challenges, any examples of where you perhaps
Yeah.
overcome something?
Yeah, so there was in my last business in IA, there was an interesting one. We were
Mm.
working with a data company in Russia, and part of their data set functioned underneath our product. And essentially what they did is they went, right, you need to pay us a load of money right now, otherwise we're going to turn all this off. So they were
Oh my gosh.
essentially they were blackmailing us, right?
Yeah.
They basically just went, here's what we were paying before, and then they times it by 50, and then said, you need to pay this now, or it's whatever, we'll do something.
What
And I
did
was
you
just
do?
like,
What did you
I just
say? How
I
did
just
you
didn't
handle
pay him.
that?
I was
Yeah.
like, this is outrageous. You don't have a
Mm.
monopoly on data, so I'm just not gonna pay you. I'm just not gonna pay you. And they were really, really angry about it. But I was like, I don't care. I would much rather my whole business, go up in flames than just pay some company, because what happens the next year, it comes around to renew or something, and they've done the same thing again. So for me, it was just a no-go, and it all worked out. We found a solution around it, but
Brilliant. No, that's really cool. You just didn't, obviously, didn't do that, and it was a threat, obviously, like what do they call it? Like a ransomware type threat, isn't it? Cyber hack. So that brings me on to cybersecurity, because you mentioned a big part of what you do as your business is the chatbots. So I wanted to speak to you about the cybersecurity side of the chatbot and that sort of risk analysis.
Yeah. It's a really good point, because there's not really a clear answer yet in the AI community around a specific way to secure and nail down a lot of these models. It's interesting. With other industries, it's fairly straightforward. API security, there's a structure. Cybersecurity for on-prem servers, there's a structure. With AI and prompt engineering and all these models, there's not really a set structure. You kind of have to go with your experience and do a lot of testing in order to make sure that they're solid. And there's some good companies like Prompt Security over in Israel. They're a fantastic company for doing prompt security. And then on the infrastructure side, there's more enterprise grade stuff that you can use. But a lot of times we do a lot of that. We do a lot of that security testing to make sure these models are working well, and they have to be perfect, because that's people's expectation. If you take a customer service agent, they're used to people picking up the phone or chatting to someone online. It has to be better than that. If it's not better than that, then there's no point doing it. You may as well do
the
it.
benefit, it needs to be better than what's already there. Otherwise, what's the point in changing it?
Yeah. So we're chasing perfection, and it has to work well, and we do a lot of testing to make sure that happens. And and I think that's the most important part, because if you don't have that, then you don't have adoption, and people don't have a good time with it, and they just write the whole thing off. So security is one of those things that in AI, I think, has a long road to go in terms of standardization. There are solutions out there, and there's processes that we do to really nail stuff down. But in terms of an industry, there's no set oh, I'm just going to deploy AI security. You just can't do it.
There's no set guidelines yet, is there? Or certifications that you have to have. But I remember when we spoke before, you mentioned how, rather than have an outside cyber security specialist, that actually it's going to come from, the people themselves that are developing those applications, because they're going to understand the software a lot better. So that was quite interesting as well.
Yeah, I think so, because at the moment, I think that will change as the industry matures. There'll be companies, like Prompt Security, that will come out and they'll have a holistic solution for, really locking down your applications in a similar way that technology works today. But at the moment, the people that are best suited for building these secure apps are the people that are as well building some of the apps themselves. They know how these AI models work, and if we turn them into red teams, where we say, okay, you've just built something, try and break it, and then that usually works a lot better than trying to get an outside.
Yeah, do it themselves. And you were saying that you can use AI to secure AI, is that right? So it's going to be used in that security aspect as well?
Yeah, it's actually quite a novel way of using it. It's more of an agent-based model. So there's lots of these agent stuff where you have one agent that might be processing some kind of data, and it speaks to another agent. So there's two LLMs talking to each other. And in the same way, we want to have a chatbot, and it's used in many different ways. And so it's fairly difficult to secure that without having another LLM look at that with a set of rules that we've set, and be able to understand the reasoning and context around the prompt that's being sent or delivering, in order to make sure that that's okay, So having AI understand how AI functions, I think, is a really great way to solve that problem, because AI can function in ways that we can't predict as humans. And so the solution is more AI.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's so clever what it can do. And we touched on computer vision models, but I wondered whether we could also cover what it can do for sort of CCTV systems. And you also mentioned it's used for companies like Tesla as well, just to understand what perhaps it's used for there.
Yeah, so computer vision covers everything from your image generation models that we talked about before, like DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, as well as into those CCTV and also, stuff like Tesla's, even Digi drones, they use it for detecting images. Cameras use it for detecting faces. So there's all these use cases that are used for, not necessarily for Gen AI, but for detection of objects. It's object detection. So
I see. Okay, yeah, that's what it's used for. So
yeah. So that's more of a
I
machine learning
noticed
model.
something recently about that, where there was they were protecting an area. I think it was a like a protected area somewhere sort of South America way, and they were using drones to detect when people were doing sort of illegal destroying of like the coral reef.
Yeah.
And it was picking up when there was a boat, doing that kind of thing. And then that drone would fly over to make it very aware that it's like looking at what's going on as a bit of a deterrent.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, so
cool.
I think machine learning and AI is around us in more ways than people really think. Even your phone, it uses AI to scan all your images so that you can search your images in your iPhone, right? And in a similar way, it will use your camera and detects faces and then puts the focus on their face. So it's that's all AI machine learning.
And then I saw that in Dubai, they're developing this like drone taxi. So that is just something else. I mean, that's something that we used to like imagine what the future would be, flying vehicles, but from using drone technology. Do you think that will have to use AI and that for being able to fly where it needs to go as part of the technology?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, it could be remote piloted, but if they want to have it self-driven, it will 100% have to use AI machine learning to train how the drone moves in the air, how it responds to different wind conditions, how it responds to different temperatures, humidities, and that sort of stuff. These sort of things you have to start thinking about when you're building something like that. How does it land softly on different surfaces? All these kind of things. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. No, that's great. And anything else that you could share with us, perhaps, as to what you're working on at the moment? Any sort of current projects?
Yeah, so working on some huge projects at the moment. Funnily enough, like documentation inside businesses is something I didn't think would be a massive problem until I started speaking to businesses, and that's like one of the biggest things that they usually want AI on. It's like they have a giant system for documentation, and it's a complete mess. So when people are new hires or people that are working in the business want to fix something or build something new and want to look at a process and want to look at a system and how it was built, they can't find it. They can't find the information. The information's not written correctly. And so for us, we can go, okay, we can build an AI search engine across that, as well as when it responds information to you, it takes the full context of what you want and what the system does. So it gives you accurate answers on what you need from that piece of documentation. A little bit how ChatGPT does it. So we're building ChatGPTs for internal businesses on their own proprietary information so that their employees can get way better results, way more productivity. I heard about a poor employee at this company. Someone had deleted a few documents. It took her 3 days to undo what someone else had done in 15 minutes. And you're just thinking, that's a highly paid employee. They're spending 3 days just going through undeleting documents when they could be doing literally anything else. So we're solving a lot of really we're solving a lot of really basic issues in companies that deliver a lot of value for them.
That's interesting, actually. That makes me think about like GDPR as well and compliance, because certain documents can only be saved for a certain amount of time, and that is quite a time-consuming task. And like you say, time, equals money, doesn't it? So if those admin-related tasks can be done automatically using an automation tool from AI, then
I think that's what it's about. I think AI is about enabling employees to do what they do best, right? If we can take away a lot of the graft and a lot of the mundanity of their day-to-day lives, then they can do what they're meant to do. For financial analysts, they spend most of their time looking through documents when they should be really doing the analytics of those documents and providing reports. That's what they're paid to do. That's what they're good at doing. Reading is just a part of their job. But if we can help make that happen faster, and in similar ways, it can be applied to all kinds of things once you start thinking about it in that way.
No, that's fantastic, amazing. And just about, so you're based out of Northampton, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is that
I
right?
am.
So
Yeah,
your business, you'll be back, was it the end of May, did you say? So you're working remotely at the moment?
yeah, working
Yeah.
remotely. The team is still in the UK. We're all over the place, but
Are you?
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think there's 3 of us in Northampton. Then there's a
Mm.
couple of other guys in the management team that are more towards London, I think. So
Fantastic. And the business
and
is
then
growing by the sounds of it. You're saying you've got new people starting and things are going well and yeah,
yes,
exciting.
it's really exciting, really exciting. Yeah, we're growing very quickly. I think within sort of 4 years we'll be about 60 people. So it's
Fantastic.
yeah, it's kind of scary, but it's good. Good scary.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast. And
I
it
really
looks
appreciate it.
beautiful where you are as well in Kefalonia, my
Yep.
favorite part of the world, Greece. So yeah. And yeah, we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, Jordan. Speak soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.